Hello, and welcome to Building a Table. Now, to begin, it's important to know what exactly you want this table to be for. Some important things are, will this be automatically updated with formulas or functions? Will you be using it with manual data entry, or will the table relatively stay the same as you use different calculations on it? In that, the very first thing to just get started is to recognize what is in each column or row and how that's organized. In this example, you can see that our first row is actually a header row, and this will show the fields of data within each one. For example, the name is, well, people's first names. Then there are people IDs that are numbers for the most part. We'll get to cleaning it up in a little bit. Emails, and then another asset number and asset name, asset type and condition, and then the checkout date, which is also another number. So the fields would be, this would be the name field or the email field. You could also say email column in this case. And then each of these would be a record. So the record would show the person and kind of a little bit of information on who they are, like their email person ID, and then the asset that they were assigned to along with the date. So all of this information has to do with this specific person. You could also say it ties into this specific asset as well. And so as you're looking into this, it's important to understand what data is in those columns in order to be able to best clean it and know what to do with it. So in this header row, we can just go ahead and pull this down in order to freeze it. Another thing you might want to do is just highlight all of it, and then you can press this 2 times in between, and then that will just show everything in it. You might want to go through this and just make sure if there was some text underneath it that's not seen, doing it there will show it. So that now we can see everything. First, let's get into some data cleaning. So for the names here, you can see some of them have some additional white space. So you can actually highlight it by pressing the A above, go to Data, Data Cleanup, and then you can trim white space. Now, one thing that you can actually do within all of this cleanup, because there's, some of these person IDs that need to be updated and a couple of other spots. You can highlight it all, and sometimes going to data cleanup, there's a cleanup suggestions. And looking at it, there's a few different things. So there's some formats, there's some white space, and some other stuff. So for example, here, this is going to be trimming some white space, which is something that we wanted. And some other things like formatting, invalid data, it can be helpful. Sometimes it misses some things too. So, it's important to know what we're doing. Same for like duplicated rows. It's saying that these 2 rows are identical. And looking at the 2, they actually are, and we would want to. So that's a helpful thing. We'll go ahead and just kind of go through all of it and do it ourselves, but that can be a helpful, like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a good call. So data cleanup, I'm actually going to highlight all of it because we never want any white space. When you press trim white space, it's going to remove any additional white space. And what that means is if there's some at the start, if there's 2 in the middle, or some at the end, it would remove all of that white space. So it told us there's just that one, and so now we know there's all the white space has been trimmed. Next here, we can see that most of these are numbers. If you click into it, it actually is just 4, 5, 6, but there are some leading zeros by it. And what that is actually formatting numbers in a specific way. So it's this special formatting. So you can see some of the ones are not formatted correctly or in the same, and other ones are just not even numbers. And so what you can do is those ones, you'll just have to type it in, and the condition happens to be the same. For this one, you can use these to add or remove the decimal points. Another thing, let's see, if you happen to see one of the numbers is just in like this kind of standard, you can go into it, go to Format, Numbers, and then select the formatting you want. Or if you're not really sure what it is, one of the ones that is formatted correctly, you can copy it, go in there, and then Control Command V, or excuse me, Option Command V. Or you can right click, go to Paste Special, and then go to Format Only, and that will change the format of that number. Looking at the emails, you can notice that there's some actual extra spaces in there. And although we did the trim whitespace, the one space would not be, even though it's an email. So something that you can use is equal is email, and select the cell that you want, end it, push enter, and then you can do Command Enter to bring it all the way down to the bottom, Command down. And what this does is it will give if it is an email or incorrect format. Any of the false ones means there's something wrong with it. So you could just go through this data set and there, but we're actually going to use a filter to be able to see it better. But we'll do that in a little bit. Next, the asset number. You can see one of them is actually to the left. Now, numbers are actually automatically formatted if there's no formatting into it to the right. And text is actually to the left. This one's to the left, and that actually means that it's formatted as text. You can see there's an apostrophe, single quote, that will actually make the number into text. So you can either, one, delete it, push enter, or you can highlight that entire row, format, and you can select it to be number, or in this case, number without any decimals, and that automatically does that. You can notice too that the header row was included in that, but because it's text and there's no number to it, it just automatically stay the same. Looking at these are the same and correct. So, there might be some trim white space or something, but those are in the correct ones. Again, you might want to consider like if the conditions are supposed to only be new, damaged, or okay, you might need to look into what's supposed to be in there, but in these cases, those are all correct. Here, these are some dates, and one thing that you may or may not have noticed, right here, there's this number, 44107, or 44,107. And one thing to note, and we'll look into this a whole lot more, is dates. They're actually stored as numbers. And so if you click into one of these and format the number as a number, you're going to get these kind of like 40 or 50,000 if it's a recent date. And what's going on is if you show the number and the date. So let's go 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to copy those over here. If you format them as a date, they're actually going to be dates. Why is this? Well, dates are actually in a Google spreadsheet stored as a number, and every day is the value 1, and then you would just add another day is +1, and so on. What's going on is that these dates are showing 44 or 45,000 something more than these numerical dates. The number 1 is actually December 31st, 1899, and 2 is stored as 1/1/1900. One thing to just kind of note, if you're using Excel is actually 1 day off, and so the 1 would actually be 1/1/1900 and then 2. So they're like off by 1, which normally when you transport or transition one spreadsheet into the other, they'll recognize that it's the correct date, but just keep that in mind in case something's like 1 day off or something like that. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but just knowing that all of these dates are stored as a number is super useful, because these numbers you could, in theory, switch the format into dates, and then here you just see a bunch of really old dates. So just gonna undo, Control Z, and we forgot to change this one. I forgot to, sorry. I'm going to highlight all of these, change the date, format, number, date, and that would automatically change it. You can also copy and paste the paste special, the formatting only. Here we have it cleaned up pretty well. Again, you can use that just in case there's something. You can use the data cleanup to just see if there's something else. So now that we have all of this, what I'd like us to look into, and it's important to know your data, is duplicates. So looking at duplicates, there could be duplicates and you want duplicates in certain ones. For example, asset condition. There's a lot of duplicates because it's like 4 or 5 categories: good, new, okay, damaged. So maybe 4. Same for this one. There's only true or false. So it's important to know what your data is before you start removing duplicates. Because if you just remove duplicates on asset type, you're going to lose a lot of information. Similarly, names. There might actually be duplicate names. It might need those. One thing that you can do just to kind of check is to find one of the numbers that should be, for the most part, unique. And that would either be the asset number or the person ID. In this case, there could be some people that have multiple assets. For example, this person might have a computer desktop and they might have an iPad. That said, the asset number should all be unique. That should be kind of the key to this, because there shouldn't be a computer checked out to 2 people. There shouldn't be a computer that has the same asset number as an iPad or something like that. Those should be unique. Again, there might be some instances where that's not the case, but that wouldn't be the best way to store your data and manage it. So what we're going to do for this one is let's start by sorting it. And I'm just going to go, I've highlighted it all by doing Command A. I'm going to go into data, and what you can do is sort the sheet or the range. Since I've highlighted a range, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And right now it's going to automatically do it in D because that's where my cursor was. If I highlight all of this, format, data, sort, now it's column A because that's where my where it is. So I'm going to click there and then highlight all of it by doing Command A, sort, and you can do A to Z. And so now you can see here all of the different ones. Now it's not very helpful because it's kind of random for what you see. Same for the others. So what you can do to find if there are any duplicates is highlight just this row. You can go here, data, and then data cleanup, and then remove duplicates. Now there's a couple of things. Data header, and you can say column D, asset number, remove duplicates. 1 duplicate row was found and removed. All right. Now, when you do that, you're not really sure what it is, other than, well, that one's missing. And that's because I just highlighted the one. And so what you'd want to do to actually highlight all of it and then remove all of it is select all of those, go to data, data cleanup, and then remove duplicates. So when you analyze all of it, what's going to happen is it's actually going to look at every single one and remove the entire row that it's in, rather than what we just saw there, where it removed one of the numbers and just brought everything up and then would have, kind of messed it all up. So remove duplicates, 1 was removed. And here, again, you're not really sure which one it was, but you can say, well, it was removed. So I'm just going to do Command Z. Another way to tell what it is that you can organize it in a way that you can see it a little bit more. Like right now, you can see that some of these are kind of right next to each other, like the names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of it. I'm going to sort the range, and then advanced sorting range. And you can actually sort it by like person ID, add another. I'm going to then sort it by asset number. Because looking at this now, I thought I did it by D, but actually it was the names, because A's, B's, and so on. So apologies on, I thought I did D, but that wasn't the case. Anyway, so person ID, asset number, and then I might just do the person name. So sort. And so now, because we started with the person ID, it's a little bit easier to see what's all going on. So here, these are the duplicated ones. So, and I put it at 1 just so it'd be a little easier for us here. Now, since it's sorted and you can kind of see, it's like, cool. Again, if you have a larger data set, it's nice to know what's been deleted, but really just using it as long as you highlight the entire thing and then go to data cleanup, and then remove duplicates. As long as you analyze all of them, it's going to look for duplicates in every single thing. So if you remove it, then that one is removed. Let's say that this goes back to number 1, and then I do that same thing. Data cleanup, remove duplicates. It's not, because they're all unique, even though everything is the same here except for that person ID. So, kind of some peace of mind. There really shouldn't be a duplicate where like the data is the exact same, the condition, everything is there. Like that would just be like someone pushed submit twice or put it in twice. So again, that's where it's important to know your data fields. It's important to know what your data is supposed to say. And in this case, for like the 4th time, we're actually going to remove the duplicates, and you don't need to push that because again, these aren't going to be duplicated, or the header row shouldn't be. So there we go. We have this pretty clean now. We do need to finish cleaning the emails, but we'll use the filters to do that. So instead of sorting it like we did, we're going to highlight all of it. Control A. It's again super useful keyboard shortcut. Go to Data. You can go to Create Filter, and you'll see that it kind of changes to green. It has that kind of thing there. Those 3 little lines that shows that it's a filtering. What filtering does is it allows you to look at the data in a unique view. So one thing you can do is you can click there and you can choose, I just want to look at damaged. Push OK, and there's all damaged. You can see that there's that little filter, well, I think that's literally just a filter icon. And you can see now that you can select all. You can just have, I don't want to see the new, and press OK. And then it's going to change what data is seen. So in this case, I selected all and then did the filter. So the stuff over here isn't going to change or be in the filtering, although if you have something in here, it's going to, like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we look at just good. Like in theory, we should just have those numbers. Those things get filtered too. It's just not an option for you to do. So just undid with Command Z and then deleted it. So filtering is just helpful to be able to kind of go in and look at specific data even more so. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to do the is email, and let's just look at the false. So now we just have the list of the ones that are false. Now you can edit these. And one thing to note, you can see like 3, 9, 12, 14, and then there, the ones that are out of it are just hidden. So you can edit these and it'll be those rows. They're just hiding the other rows essentially. So that's true now. This one should be that special character, then a space. Why is this? Oh, there's a space there. It's hard to see. So now they're all true. When you go back here, all there is true. So push OK and done. If you right click, you can, in the filter there, you can push remove filter. Another thing to note is if there's going to be more data that comes in at the bottom, if you did the Control A and then more data is added, it's not going to be in the filtering. If you know there's going to be more, you can just highlight it all by selecting one of the row or the columns like A through I, then go to Data, then Create Filter. And then the green you can see continues on. There's another field called blanks, and you can just remove that if you want, and now they're not there. Again, if it's not there, you can't add it here. So, just depending on what it is, then you can select all, and then there are the rows again. So those are filters. They're really helpful. The last thing that we're going to show, and, might be something that you want to use, especially for certain users, is you can actually make filter views. So you highlight that same data, you go to Data, and then you can say Filter View, create a new view. Now, I've already created a couple of them here, but let's just go ahead and create another. It'll go into this kind of black sides and top. It'll show what the range is, which is, again, what I selected. And then you can name the filter. So let's just call this one New Assets. It's good to kind of name it what the filter is, just so that everyone knows. And then what you can do is remove everything other than new, and that's the filter that I want. So the new asset filter is going to show that. Maybe you want to also add something else there, like, you could say that it's all new assets from 2023, and then you just remove everything other than in 2023. I'm not going to do that in this case, but you can add multiple things. Like, I guess maybe new assets other than Abby. Sorry, Abby. And, again, I would adjust the name, new assets, no Abby. And there's that range. And, you can rename it, update the range, duplicate, delete, or learn more if you want to. But when you push the X, it'll go back into that regular view. When you go up to data and then filter views, you can go to that same filter and then it'll show all of them. Now, if something changes out of here, so like let's say that a bunch of these just get replaced and are new, when you go back into that filter view, those are going to get updated. So those ones are now part of this view. If something changes with someone else, it's not going to do it automatically. You'd have to leave it and go back in. So, just keep that in mind. But what this does is it allows for you to create views for different things. So maybe in this case, you'd want to do filter view like, computers damaged, which shows all of the computers that are damaged. Or maybe you have another filter view that's the all asset conditions that are damaged. So there's like a desktop too. However you want to use them, it's up to you and it's up to your data. So it's important to know what the data is, know what kind of views you want, but it's a very powerful way to easily get the exact information that you need. So that's all that we're going to look at for building the tables. I mean, again, there's a lot that can go into it based off of the data fields. It's important to, one, know what your data is, two, making sure that the data is accurate by removing any of those, duplicated ones that are exactly duplicate, cleaning it up so that there isn't going to be any issues like Whitespace, trimming it, and then also just making the view a little bit easier to see by showing all the data and, running some quick checks like is email. So that's all that we're going to do here. Got a little bit longer, but hopefully you find some helpful things here with filtering, sorting, and getting your data into a table. Next up, we're going to look at creating a graph now that we have our table looking nice and clean. See you in the next one.